In this lecture, we are going to learn about how to use closures inside a map function for arrays. So let's consider an example first. Consider a world without closures. So let's consider an array of integers. So let's name it as A, RR, very creative name, and let's define it as a sequence, or let's say it is 2, let's say 1, 3, 6, any random number. I'm just going to put it. So let's say it's an array of 5 integers, right? So now let's say if you want to write a code to calculate square for each number inside that array, a typical way without closures, what you would do is you will define a new array, right, which is of the type integer, and initialize it to blank, and then you will write for in original array, you will try to write a loop inside that, right, and then you will write a code like this, append, and say num into num, right, and then let's say print new array. Let's see what happens. So as you can see, it will print the square of each number, right? Here also you can see it's printing of square of each number that you have in the original array. But as you can see, the code is verbose, right? There's a lot of code that you need to write. So can we do better? So we can do this using a short and sweet code by using closures and a map function, using a map function which is given in an array. So if you look at the map function, it looks something like this. So this is the signature of a function. Basically, it takes an integer as an input and it returns the same array as another output. Okay, an integer, basically it operates on the each element of the array. Okay, so this is what we want to write. So if you want to pass, so let's say you want to do this inside using a closure. So what you do is obviously you will pass curly braces, right? So this is where you will write a closure, and input, as you can see, is was an integer, right, and then output was also an integer because it's an element of an array, and then you write code. Basically you just say return num into num, right? So this is what the short code you can write, just a one line of code but using a closure. Yeah. So you take num as an input, returns an input, another integer which is of the type just a square. That's how you pass a closure function. And this let's name it as new array 2. Okay, so which is with closure, and let's print this and see what happens. It should print exactly same array as new array, but this time with a much shorter and sweeter code. And let's write this. Okay, let's define this first, just like this. Okay. Right, so as you can see, new array is this. So maybe array with closure. So this is the output, right? This is what with closure. So as you can see, we were able to replace 4 lines of code with a single line of code. Now it turns out we can still write a much shorter version of the code. So the way to write the shorter version of the code is you can say arr dot map, that would remain same, curly braces would remain same, and now inside this curly braces you can start writing the shortcut of the code. So you can completely eliminate this integer here, right? So let me write this code and then we will optimize. So this was our original code, right? Now Swift does something called a type inference. So it knows that the input is integer and it is returning square of the number, so it's got to be an integer. So you can completely eliminate this and still our code should work. If you now print, it still works, right? So even if you remove this return type because it infers, it will still work. So let's see, can we do shorter than this? Yes, we can. Let's try to still shorten the code. So this integer also, when you're passing, it knows that the input integer is just the same type as array. So if an array has an integer array, the input has to be an integer. So we can eliminate this as well, and the code should still work. Okay, so that's still shorter. Can we make it further shorter? Yes, we can. It turns out that this num, the first parameter in the function is $0. So we can just shorten this function as $0 into $0, right? Yeah, so there you go. So as you can see, we have reduced 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of code with just 1 line of code. So this is the best way to write a closure. So closure just gives you brevity in your code. You can write a much shorter version of the code by using the closures and the map function inside arrays.